Good evening, Celtic fans, and welcome back to the channel. The big news this evening is obviously that Anthony Ralston, has signed a new long-term deal with Celtic. Tony Ralston will always be known as the player who helped win the league the first season under Ange Postecoglou with that header up at Dingwall, up at Ross County. Way into stoppage time. Bottle comes in and Ralston basically heads it into the net and almost runs into the Celtic fans behind the goals, and then the rest is history. The right back has become the latest member of Brendan Rodgers' squad to commit to the Celtic. Celtic announced that the defender Anthony Ralston signed a new 4-year deal today, keeping him at the club until at least 2027. The 24-year-old right back who joined Celtic Youth Academy at aged 8, aged 8-year-olds, and it just shows you, and we've been talking about it a lot in this channel the last couple of evenings, it just shows you that academy players can make it at Celtic. Celtic need to be bringing through more of these academy players. We have spoke about this many times, but tonight isn't the night for talking even more about it. He made his first team debut as a substitute against St Johnstone back in May 2016. After working his way up through the ranks at Celtic, he had loan spells at Queen's Park, Dundee United, St Johnstone, before establishing himself as a regular matchday squads under manager Ange Postecoglou in that inverted fullback role that he seemed to manage quite well. And let's face it, he is a fantastic squad player to have. He is one of us. You know, he's comes from the same cloth as Callum McGregor, if you like. He's like me and you. He loves the Celtic too. Ralston has went on to make nearly 90 appearances and he scored 7 goals for the champions so far in his career. You know, commenting on his new deal, Ralston told the Celtic website, "I'm absolutely delighted. It's a great feeling to sign for your boyhood club and sign on a new contract." He went on to say, "It never gets old. That feeling of being able to put pen to paper and to secure your future where you want. Essentially, this is where I want to play my football. And another proud moment in my career is signing this new extended deal with Celtic. I just put my head down every day," Tony says. He says, "I work hard. I signed my last contract 2 years ago, and it's just been a case of going in, getting work done, and doing my best for the team to help bring success." And we all know that Tony absolutely loved that win at Ibrox just a few weeks ago. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yes, we all know. We all seen the video after that win, and we know what it feels like for him to do that. He also went on to say, Tony Ralston says, "And I feel as a team we've managed to do a lot with the players get their rewards." He said, "So I am absolutely delighted to get this done." Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers added, "I'm absolutely delighted for Anthony. He was a young player who showed a lot of promise when I was first here. He came into the team and played some good games, and obviously he's really kicked on when Ange came in." He says that had early spells where I did quite a lot. You could see him grow from that. "As far for me," says Brendan Rodgers, "he is absolutely brilliant for the squad. I'm absolutely delighted. He's a Celtic guy through and through, and he just wants to be here." He says, "When you have guys like that in your squad, they always give that little bit extra, and you always get that little bit extra out of them." When I spoke to him a while back, said Brendan Rodgers, he was happy to commit himself to Celtic. He loves being here, he loves being part of this club, and is ready to contribute whenever asked. "I'm very, very happy," said Brendan Rodgers, "that he decided to sign on the dotted line on the extended contract." It's an absolutely brilliant day, and it's a strange day actually, because it's the day that Celtic put out the squad picture. Now, obviously there was a lot of the first team backroom staff weren't in the picture, which was quite strange. It only had Brendan Rodgers and John Kennedy. But one noticeable player, we could talk about the fact that Rocco Vata was in the picture, and one of the other young players. But when it comes down to it, there's a Celtic player that is on absolutely crazy money, and he's not even in the picture. He's not even in the picture, and it was suggested by my brother that he was the one taking the picture. Yes, it's the one and only James McCarthy. What has happened to James McCarthy? Where is James McCarthy? I lay this down to Celtic fan media that get an invite to Celtic Park to ask the question, where is James McCarthy? So if any other Celtic media are watching this and they get their chance to have their little foray into Celtic Park and to ask questions, ask the question, where is James McCarthy and why wasn't he in the squad picture? The squad picture is great for lots of reasons. Historians like it, fans like it as a reference point. Historians like it when they look back on the year and they can see all the players that were in the squad. The fact that James McCarthy isn't there, the Scottish-Irish midfield player finds himself increasingly out the picture at Celtic, is completely missing. And, there's been there's been nothing said from Celtic about his situation. There's been nothing said whatsoever. Now, the guy is taking good money out of the club, and, young Daniel Kelly was there, Rocco Vata was there. It's interesting that Rocco Vata was there, considering that he's not getting first-team football, and that he's in the B squad, and he's not put pen to paper yet. It seems like in the background, Celtic are trying to still persuade the player that his future lies at Celtic, although he's decided that he will make his own mind up and he will decide where he plays next. And, there are lots of rumours going around about will Vata stay, will he not? But the big one for me, is why and where is James... I can't even talk about him anymore. One of the other noticeable absences was obviously the goalkeeping coach and Gavin Strachan. Gavin Strachan wasn't in the picture either, which was kind of strange because you usually get all the backroom staff, and Brendan's obviously just wanted to go with him and John Kennedy, which was interesting move. It might have been that they weren't there at the time when the picture was taken. Maybe they slept in that day. You never know. We'll never find out. In other Celtic news, a bad boy of Scottish football is back in at Scottish football. A player that said he would never play for Scotland again has been talking to Brendan Rodgers. And I'm only going to speak about this guy purely for the fact that he did go to jail for headbutting a Raith Rovers player, and he said he would never come back to Scotland, but he has. And he's been asking Brendan Rodgers about some players. Duncan Ferguson is the new Inverness Cali Thistle boss, and he's revealed that he's been speaking to Brendan Rodgers about the possibility of bringing some players on loan. The former Everton striker has been appointed the Scottish Championship club manager on a 3-year deal. That's an interesting one. That's all we're going to talk about it. But he has been talking about the fact that he's been speaking to Brendan Rodgers to try and bring some of the youth players up to Inverness Cali Thistle for them to get some first team action. Which would be an interesting move. It'll be interesting to see if Celtic pull the guys out that are down at Fleetwood. I don't know if there's a possibility to do that. And now that Scott Brown isn't there, it'll be a lot easier for Brendan and co to nip up to Inverness. That's 6.5 a dozen, really, isn't it? So anyway, the big news today is the fact that Tony Ralston. Tell me in the comments what you think about Tony Ralston getting that new deal. Is it a good piece of work by the club? Personally, I think it is. We all know that he has to be there, part of the Scottish contingent, and securing the services of somebody like Tony Ralston just make sure that we keep that Scottish contingent more than anything. He's a great squad player. A lot of people say that he's not Celtic quality, but he is the guy that made sure that we won the league that first season under Ange Postecoglou up in Inverness, up in Ross County, Dingwall. For that alone, he needed that new deal. I know he got one a couple of years ago, but he needed the new deal just for that for me. So on that note, I hope you enjoy your evening, Celtic fans. Again, tell me in the comments what you think about Tony Ralston getting a deal, and tell me what you think about Duncan Ferguson coming back to Scottish football. Mr. I'll never step foot in Scotland, I'll never play for Scotland again, and he comes begging Brendan Rodgers for some players. Have a great evening, Celtic fans all across the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the